Hey everyone, and welcome to the free monthly webinar that we put on that is all about the book content from CRM or Die. So excited to have you. I'm Courtney Kearney, founder and owner of C. Kearney Consulting. Today we're going to be diving into chapter 6. So all things about evaluation and selection. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. We have a ton of events coming up. If you will be at the SMPS event next month for Amplify AEC, which is formerly Build Business, definitely check out Chaz and I's 30-minute workshop. We're giving it 2 days during that conference. And it'll be the same content, but 2 different options to attend. We've also got our CRM chat on this Thursday, 1 to 1:30 Central. So check that out. And we have a ton of resources. We're going to be referring to some of those throughout the presentation today. And I know Erica will drop that into the chat window. If you haven't already done so, feel free to scan this QR code to go out to the CRM or Die website and purchase the book. Today's content, you don't have to have the book in order to get something from it. If you are still curious about the content, you can have a sneak peek into the chapters if you go to the crmordie.com. And then you can also take a quick 10-minute self-assessment quiz, and you can track your journey for CRM. This is something that we suggest doing on a quarterly basis so that you can track how you're doing quarter over quarter, and it does give you a score at the end. Now, once you purchase the book, you've got access to a ton of resources. It is per chapter so that you can go and get those additional downloads. Now, titling the book might seem extreme, but if this is your first webinar about the content of the book, we just want you to know that we believe that firm leaders must embrace properly managing your client relations, or the business will cease to exist. Essentially, none of us will exist if we don't have clients. That is what the business is all about. Having those clients, keeping them, maintaining them. And we want to be able to do that through our relationships that we nurture. And in order to do that, we have to have a process in place for our internal employees to follow, hence the CRM or Die. Now, looking at the book as a whole, our most important takeaway is that at the root of everything, client relationship management is not about a piece of technology. It is about the process and the people. So we definitely are going to be talking about how to go about selecting and evaluating the CRM technologies today, but I do not want to lose sight of if you decide to not get a piece of technology, it is critical that you understand it's not just about that. A piece of technology is helpful to support. However, it is most critical that you have a process in place to have your people follow, and that people in that scenario are your employees. Now, looking at the book in its entirety, there are 4 parts that we broke down your CRM potential into: the foundation, the preparation, utilization, and thriving. We're going through the entire book content in 2022. We've already hit on the foundation. So if you missed the first several webinars this year, we've got them all out on our YouTube channel for you. First, we were focusing on people and process, then data-driven decision-making, the benefits of CRM, and then we moved into the preparation piece. And that is looking at the internal process. How do you get your business processes in place? And today we're going to be talking about evaluation and selection. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute, I already have a CRM system. Should I get off of this webinar? Absolutely not. You will still have value because all the things that we're talking about today, you can still do even if you've already selected a piece of technology. Now, can you just speed through this, Courtney, and we open chapter 6 by saying, wait, can't you just whisper it and tell me what's the best CRM platform out there, and I'll just go purchase it? Really, if that's the answer that you're looking for, you're going to be sad because I do not have an answer for you. There is no one answer for every firm or one, answer that fits everybody. But if you have not checked out the chapter 4 and chapter 5, definitely go back and look at those blog articles and those webinars, because that is the foundation of helping you pick what system so that you can do the right foundational work to be able to pick that. Now, if you do that work to understand your firm's infrastructure, your data, your processes, and you make the plans for that change management, and you've identified the champions, then you are in the great position to go ahead and move forward with your evaluation and selection. We start chapter 6 off with a quote from Simon Sinek, so I want to do the same today. Directions are instructions given to explain how, whereas direction is a vision offered to explain why. Now, we've done the foundational work to figure out why we need a CRM. We're going to talk a little bit more about that today. And then we're going to end with the directions, the how, the technical piece of it. So starting with that direction or the vision, highly recommend Stacey Abrams' TED Women Talk from 2018. Regardless of her politics, she does come up with a great TED Talk. Erica's going to drop that into the chat window so you can have a link to watch that later. But really, she brings it down to 3 simple questions. We need to ask ourselves, what do we want? Why do we want it? And how do we get it? Now, you might say at the root of it, I want a CRM system. I want a way to have a single place of data. You got to dig deep and say what it actually is that you're trying to solve or fix. Is it that you can no longer have inaccurate data in your proposals? Is it that all of your business developers and seller doers have got to be able to access client intel in one place instead of having it in their notebooks or their heads or their outlooks or their mobiles? Make sure that you identify what that root why is, or the what. Not, I want a CRM. I want a central database. I want client intel. I want financial forecasting. What is it that your firm is after? And then why? I want to have accurate data in all of our proposals. I want to have up-to-date intel on our clients so that we look like the left hand is talking to the right hand. And then how are we going to get it? We're going to put together a process to buy a CRM system. We're going to document our process to see if we need a system. We intend to refurbish the one that we already have. Whatever that how is, making sure that we identify it. Part of that is building the right team and having that team ask the right questions. In this month's email article that we gave out, our blog article, we talk about a list of questions to help you identify the root of what you're trying to get to. So things like, what are your existing workflows? So of your seller doers, of your marketing team, of your senior leadership, whoever it is that is part of your client relationships and maintaining those, what is their workflow? Do they put all of their information into a handwritten notebook? Do they hoard business cards on their desk? If you're looking to move towards a piece of technology, what are the features that it has to have? Does it have to have a specific user interface? Does it have to be mobile friendly, tablet friendly? Are there any specifications that it needs to meet? It has to be able to integrate with Outlook. It needs to be able to talk to accounting. Are there categorizations? So for example, we want to be able to categorize all of our data by contract type. We want to be able to do it by market, by office. Having all of these things figured out ahead of time is fantastic. If you already have a system in place, still having these conversations will make your database even stronger. If you haven't purchased a piece of technology and you're in that evaluation selection process, then making sure that you are evaluating and looking for things like, are there communities around the product? Is there support that is included in whatever fee or license that you're going to purchase? What are the automation capabilities? All of these questions are outlined on the website, but definitely taking the time to ask them, to dig deep, to get to those root, because you don't want to get to the very end and purchase a product that has no mobile capability when your C-suite says, well, I'm not using it because it's not on my mobile. It would be much better to figure that out ahead of time. Same thing with things like your user interface. How important is that to your end users? If they're going to discount or discredit a piece of software because of the look and feel, you want to know that going into the evaluation. So this is the team, the committee, if you will, that you have formed in order to ask these initial questions and try to get to some of the answers. Now, you need to go beyond just that committee and ask other internal questions and interview some of the staff. So asking things like, what challenge or challenges do you want the CRM to solve? Now, that might sound a similar reworded way of asking what I did at the very beginning with Stacey Abrams' TED Talk. Absolutely. It is trying to get to that unified why. So if your senior leadership's answer is, I want the challenge of inaccurate information solved. I never want to see a proposal with multiple square footages for the same project again. Okay, that is a great challenge to have documented and can lead to that why statement of why we need a CRM. Asking the question around accountability. So what do you plan to do, senior leader, to help hold the staff accountable to using the CRM process or the CRM piece of technology? What is the expectation of our users? Now, on our previous webinar, we talked about the 6 data roles that we have outlined. After you've identified those 6 data roles, those are the expectations. Who and how are they going to be held accountable to those data roles? And then the priorities. We can all have a lot of different whys. What are the challenges? What do I want this piece of technology to solve? But we can't get all of everything that we want all the time. So we need to prioritize those. So for example, if opportunity management comes to the surface, data asset management, I want to be able to have all of our project data in one place. I want to be able to track all of our pursuits, and contact management. So I want to be able to manage all of my contacts and all of our clients. Those 3 things could be 3 different pieces of technology. If you want it all in one, what is the priority? What takes precedent? What are we most looking for? What is the most important feature or goal or objective for this piece of technology? Now, it doesn't mean that there's not one piece of technology out there that can solve all of them, but if you prioritize them, it will help the process immensely. And then finally, you want to be able to listen to your leaders to figure out that buy-in. What they might be telling you is different than how they really feel. They might not know if you just outright ask them, what are the challenges that you want the CRM solution to solve? But if you listen to some of the things that are taking up their time, what are they most worried about? It's very similar to trying to figure out our clients' hot buttons or what are the win themes of a proposal. We have to listen to our clients. They don't just outright tell you what their concerns are most of the time. Leaders can be the same way. So within our firms, we have to listen to hear and see what those patterns are. What are they complain about the most? What is taking up too much of their time? What can we automate? What can we streamline? What information can we give them access to? What decisions are they trying to make by looking at the analytics and data that they just don't have easy access to? Figuring that out and getting their buy-in is critical, but it might take some complex listening or asking the right questions to get to that answer before you get to that buy-in. Now, once you've done all those things, you've built the right team, you're asking the right questions, you've interviewed your internal staff, you've got your leadership buy-in, you understand your why you want it, how are you going to get it, then it's time to build the matrix. This is the how of the process. So you build your matrix. Here's an example of some of the things that might have come up as you did all of those, all of that digging. You need it to be industry specific. You need it to manage your contacts, your asset management. So all of that project data, you want it to track your opportunities. You want it to have revenue forecasting. It's got to be mobile friendly and it has to integrate with Outlook. Okay, fantastic. Now we're going to go out to market and we're going to begin our search. If you've done all of that work, when we go to market, we are driving. So we essentially get to build the proposal and say, all of the products, you have to meet these requirements. And you can, if you have enough license and driving a big enough company, you can submit a proposal to some of the SaaS products so that SaaS is system as a service. I just butchered that. But essentially your technology that is license-based. So the Units, the Deltex, the Salesforce, looking at them to respond to your proposal. You've got to be big enough as a firm to justify that. However, even if you're not, if you have your matrix built, then that's essentially your proposal that you are answering the questions on their behalf as you go to market. So now that you've got that clear understanding, you've answered all of those questions, you can drive, you're in control. After you've built out your matrix, you begin to search. You're looking at things like the SMPS, my SMPS community, asking the questions. Hey, who out there is using Salesforce? Can I talk to you about how you're using it? Who's using Deltec or Insightly or HubSpot? Any of the ones that come to your top options, you can ask those questions. Going to third party like G2, they're great for looking at software reviews and evaluations. JB Knowledge is another one that is for our industry. They have a Contech, CONTECH report that they put out, and CRM is included in that. So looking at all three of our options, I suggest narrowing it down to 3. There are a ton out there. So narrowing as you begin your search, some of them will be knocked off right away. If it has to be industry specific, the HubSpots, the Salesforce, those get knocked out. If it doesn't have to be, some of those can stay. Once you get it down to your top 3, maybe 4, then you begin to rate those according to your selection criteria that came out of all of the interviews and the work that we did before. Then you can start to see, okay, if we want to go with option 1, we have to give up mobile. This is where those priorities come in. If mobile is priority number 1, then option 1 might not be the best one. Then you go down the list and you can start to evaluate your options. Now, at the end of all of this, you've made your selections, you've built your matrix, you've rated them, you're going to go into the demo phase, you're going to get demos of the top 2 or 3, then we're going to make our selection. Along the way, make sure that you honor your effort and celebrate all of these milestones. So once you have your why statement, celebrate that. Once you've got your priorities outlined, celebrate that. This is a very long and sometimes tedious process. So make sure that you're honoring your effort and you're celebrating that along the way. Now, today's takeaways, we want to look at why do we want what we want? Don't just stop at we want a CRM process or we want a CRM system, but really, why do we want that? Get down to that very pinpointed what you're after. And then how are we going to get there? Build that right team, ask the right questions, interview your internal staff, get that leadership buy-in, build your matrix, go out to market. But remember, you are driving. Do not be driven. Do not get distracted by the bells and whistles of huge technology platform when really all you're looking for is this single feature. Rate the options and then honor that effort and celebrate all of those wins. Regardless of where you're at in your CRM journey, this is your moment to take control and act and to make sure that you are prioritizing your client relationships so that you do not perish as a business. I invite you to join us on our free CRM chats to continue this conversation and meet on this Thursday, the third Thursday on June 16th. Thank you so much for spending the last 25 minutes with us. We appreciate your time. There will be a survey at the conclusion of this webinar, and you guys have a great rest of your day.